Hi, this is Jeff Allen, and we've got the ProZ.com annual conference, virtual conference. And today we've got a list of panelists on our roundtable for machine translation for LSPs, language service providers or translation companies, and their customers. And so today I want to go around their panel. If you can see in the video here, we got all five of us. So we got the whole ProZ.com annual conference. This is a 2014 version, and we've done it in the past years. And this year we've got a number of different panelists. Really great to have them. And so we're going to go around. My name's Jeff Allen. You've all seen me in the forums for the past 10 years answering questions, and now I'm asking the questions to other people who've been doing it too. So I've got a great list of panelists here, and then we're going to go around and ask them who they are and everything. So, Sandor, can you tell us who you are?
Sure. Welcome everyone to this conference. My name is Sandor. I come from Hungary. I represent Hungarian linguistic services provider, traditional LSP, and also working with machine translation technology since 2011. The language there we focus on with machine translation is English and Hungarian. Hungarian being a little bit of a complex language in terms of the multilingual nature of the language. It requires quite a lot of specifics to make it right. We have been working with MP engines in several verticals: IT, engineering, life sciences, actually both ways, from English into Hungarian as well as Hungarian into English. In our business processes and business philosophy, if you like, we are using MP as part of our translation business processes. Our focus is on application quality, and this is how we have built both our MP systems as well as our most training system.
Great, Sandor. Thanks so much. We're going to cross the Atlantic now and talk to Kurti. Kurti, can you tell us about yourself?
Hi, my name is Kurti Vashi. I'm with Asia Online. We're a machine translation developer. We build highly customized MT engines for a variety of different customers, both enterprise customers and many LSPs, including Connect. And we work with a large variety of languages, including several Asian languages that characterized as difficult to do MT with. And we have within the company built thousands of systems, and there is deep experience on what works, what doesn't work, and how to maximize whatever data is available to build the best potential engines that give you the best output and to minimize your post-editing efforts. I'm also a frequent blogger on machine translation, and I have a blog called Empty Pages where I talk about that. And I'm also the moderator for the largest MT group in LinkedIn. That has about 5,000 members now. Thank you.
That is true. We spammed them the other day so we can get people coming to this conference. Let's come across the Atlantic again to Manuel. Can you present yourself, Manuel?
Yes, sure. Hi, Jeff. My name is Manuel Herrero. Organic is an LSP, is a hard and translation company. From Moses version 2 of Geomatrix.net Plus.net, we became customizers of Moses the tool. We were the first LSP in the world to apply it successfully. We reported this as American Association for Machine Translation and also the Asian Association for Machine Translation. We've applied Moses successfully in production, both at Vantiering and other companies, for corporations too. We don't customize engines as such. When we sell the full system. Now Pangea has grown to be a successful, solid hybrid system, banking on the number of engines that we have and experience we have gathered through customization and training. We have hybridized the best of Moses and the best of rule-based which is good. We came to machine translation through rule-based machine translation, not through statistical. Statistical was something that came later. We were very statistical for a number of years. Now we see the advantages of rule-based and also statistical. But our focus is very much on customization of systems for either corporations or LSPs.
Great, thanks, Emmanuel. I said that I'm a machine translation schizophrenic. You know, I have to do all these different versions, so it's the same way. We're going to cross up from Spain now, go up to France, and across the English Channel to Melissa. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. So my name is Melissa Kane. I work for SDL, a customer experience management company, and I'm director of machine translation there, intelligent machine translation. Why do we have intelligent in there? This is not some boast about our own prowess. This is because we very much apply MT within a post-editing environment. So the team that I work with are building custom engines for external clients and third parties, but also for our own internal use. We have more than a decade's experience with MT, and similar to Manuel, we've spent time with rules-based. Initially started out with rules-based MT, and then moved a few years ago to statistical machine translation to give us scalability that we were looking for. So we have in-house translators as well. So we have a nice kind of range, if you like, from working with the MT, building the engines, but also seeing the back end of the process, the guys at the coalface who are actually doing the post-editing. And through them, we've been able to develop our post-edit certification program, hopefully helping others, particularly freelancers, to get started and find their way with MT and be able to use it much more productively in an everyday environment.
Great, thanks, Melissa. Now we're going to wait for everyone. You can ask questions on the page if you want to, and I'm going to start. I have a question or two that we want to get this going with. We need to prime the pump here. Thanks for all the questions earlier in the day on my presentation before. Also note that we'll have Curdy will be giving a presentation later on today about post-editing machine translation. So we probably won't answer a lot of questions on that here in this session because it would be good for you to watch that for our audience. But the burning question, one of the big burning questions that I see all the time, folks, is how do we measure quality? Okay, how do we measure quality of using machine translation and the translation quality? And that could be the source language quality, how we estimate the source language quality to be translatable. How do we score translated text and source text and then decide to use them in training data or in test data? And then how do we accept, how do we understand the acceptability of translated text, customized engine, machine translation, customized text? How are you doing it, folks? I mean, how are you doing that to meet the needs of yourselves as customers or your customers or et cetera? Who wants to take a stab at that?
Okay, can I start?
Sure, go ahead.
Right. Okay, there are, with shorts of metrics, there are literally hundreds of metrics. Initially, you can rely on the old IBM score and say, the confidence score per segment, and say this segment has this confidence score. IBM released a new one. We created one that was a mixture of the IBM score and our own algorithms. At the end, in our experience, what translators want to do, though, is how many words, and companies, how many words did I translate? And it just boils down to that. Without MT or with my cat tool, I could translate X. Thanks to MT, I can translate X plus 1. Then, okay, so your boss, if you're inside the company, you can go with your KPIs and say, look, but essentially, this is based on a higher Blair score and a very customized engine. And we have a per segment IBM score of such and such. But for the majority of translation companies, it boils down to production, the number of words per hour.
Great, thanks, Manuel. Anyone else want to try it at it?
Yeah, I would concur. I think because we do so much post-editing in-house, obviously we don't want to post-edit if it's not going to be more productive than human translation. That's going to completely negate the purpose. So one of the key things we look at, initially we look at understandability of an engine, score it 1 to 5 on how good is the output. We'll particularly do that if we build 3 or 4 engines in parallel. That allows us to determine which is the best one. But then the key thing is we move forward to productivity testing. So what we're looking at doing there is combining some source segments, probably we tend to go 30 source segments and 50 MT segments, and we're looking to capture the number of keystrokes that the translator makes in that segment, the time they spent in there, the number of changes. Do they have thinking time? Are they the kind of person that rushes straight in, translates start to finish, or are they somebody who reads and ponders? And we build up that picture, and essentially what we get at the end is we can say, great, we tested this language on this account, it's 45% more productive than if we did it with human translation. This means this is one we'll definitely recommend we migrate. We have a benchmark, a threshold, if you like, in-house that we say below a certain level, let's not move this as an account to MT, because essentially folk are going to spend longer trying to work with the MT output than they would if they started from scratch. So key to us is knowing what is that figure. Can we then with confidence as well talk to our resources and say, hey folks, there's no risk for you here. We've done exhaustive testing. You should be 45% productive. So let's do this together, and then we can check back again on the feedback and the productivity as we go along. But it's key at the beginning, I think, to know you're going to be faster and you can get through more in the day.
Great, thanks. Hey, Curdy, why don't you try it, and then we'll see with Sandor if he confirms it, because he's using what you've been doing. So, Curdy, how are you doing it?
Well, I mean, there's several automated metrics, that the computer automatically scores, and they use human references as a way to do it. If you do that properly, that can be also useful. It can give you some kind of indication of general quality. But a lot of people don't do it properly, and then you get very misleading results when you do that. Like Blue is one that I think is most frequently misapplied, and where people use it in the training, and then they say, oh, we scored really well, and then they find out when they do a new project it doesn't do so well. But I agree with the other speakers here that productivity is the most important criteria. Like how much can you translate before you use MT? How much can you translate after you use MT? If the number with MT is higher, then it's worth using. If it's not, then it's not worth using. One thing I've noticed, that we've seen that some people count errors, and so they see that the count and errors with MT is much higher than the count of errors with just human translations, and that can be very misleading because a lot of human translation errors are related to terminology confusion or to very different stylistic things. And so while there are fewer errors, they take much longer to correct. And MT errors are like simple grammar errors, a word order, which are very quick, very easily repaired. And so while there may be in sheer numbers more errors with MT output, they're much easier to repair. And so I think Sandor has a very good way to do this. He trains people on looking at different kinds of error categories, and I mean, he should speak for himself, but I think that's a very intelligent way to present that to post editors so that they have a clear and well-defined experience, and so there's no confusion.
Well, Sandor, I mean, I'm in your same situation of being a user of MT now. How are you doing it? Along with Curdy's explaining here.
Well, at the very beginning of our quest with MT, we have been looking at the scores, the various scores, Blue, Meteor, all the others. And then we have, of course, being a small shop, talking about really 1 or 2 language pairs with a number of verticals. What we have been realizing is that for us, productivity should be measured where we can put a price tag. That means processing speed. So that's the real deciding factor in a translation project where you are using machine translation technology as well. So what we are using is for assessing the quality. But first of all, we started focusing on certain verticals and product-specific MT engines. Not domain, but really strictly product-specific engines, and that's paired up with the product-specific training for post editors. which means you try to bring the best out of the post-editing process because you're preparing the linguist for that given task. We have an expectation, we provide a way of doing this, and then we build the skill set on the one hand. And on the other hand, regarding the empty engine, we're trying to focus on very narrow paths, which means, as I mentioned, product-specific engines. Then when we have this all together, that's when we start assessing and checking the productivity, which can be done measuring the actual post-editing speed.
Great, Sandor. I really appreciate it. And just one extra question to anyone who answer along this line, and I've heard of people ask is, we've got all these ways of scoring, and are the tools to score, at a level 3 or a level 8 different levels or all that, but is there a tool that can allow us, or a method right now that can allow us to estimate or forecast or predict the translatability of the source text into a target language? Can we do any predicting? Do we have anything today that can say this is going to be 45% good translatability or not from the source language? Do we have anything to do that yet? Does this exist?
Yes, research, Jeff. That's research. There is work in Europe being done exactly in that field. I don't think there is anything commercially, any magic wand that will tell you. That would be a cracking tool. If you have an estimating tool saying you posted it, you should be spending only minutes doing this. Of course, that's very easy to create, and that's fairly easy to estimate with the number of tools and estimations that we already have, most of us, to be able.
So Manuel, you were explaining, one of the questions was about the translatability, any types of tools that exist from the source language, like English into whatever, Japanese or anything. Is there any tool that can estimate the translatability so that we can say, are we going to get a good return on investment on this content? What were you saying about that before we went offline?
Yeah, there is what we call a confidence score, and that has been around for a long time. And there is several different ways of measuring confidence score. And the confidence score should be able to give you an idea of what problems or what time you could spend those editing. And there are a number of ways you could develop algorithms. This is research that is being done by the EU. Actually, one program at least. So it's not difficult to develop a tool that could estimate or guesstimate to freelancers. You should be able to spend half an hour post-editing this, considering the language, considering the type of text typology, considering the output that we got with this particular engine. We have been shy in providing that because it is an open field that is likely to be misleading and misused in several ways if you don't know exactly what you're doing and how you're applying your tools. So a number of 5 could be a very good 50 minutes, could be a very good number for certain types of text, a very reasonable time to do some post-editing on some text, and it could be an absolute disaster for another type of text if you're using the engine. So I don't know of any tool, at least a free tool, an open source tool that can do that. I would be curious to see how any potential tools do that in the future.
Okay. Well, it's good to hear. I'm hearing people asking me, so I know there's research. I'm just wondering what do you have out there. And are you aware of everything? I'm not. So
yeah, there's research being done, but if the source is bad, the source is bad, and you don't need a tool to tell you that. It's so bad that you can't. We work with a lot of user-generated content, and with user-generated content, it's always misspelled. It's grammatically incorrect, and there's strategies to deal with that. So you basically try and fix it a little bit, and then it can be used in machine translation. But with machine translation, garbage in, garbage out. If you send in rubbish, it's going to give you back rubbish. So you have to do something. And user-generated content is the most specific business application I'm aware of, where you're dealing with junky content, junky source content. And there are strategies to deal with the most common kinds of errors, but you won't be able to deal with every kind of error that you have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
I think the other thing people find frustrating is when you're used to working in a cat tool that'll tell you what to change if you're editing a fuzzy match. It'll tell you this is a grammar change or this is a terminology change. It points you to the part of the segment you need to focus on. So even if you have a confidence score that'll tell you this is 4 out of 5, it won't actually show you what you need to change. And I think it's a tricky thing for a resource as well to jump between within the same file, something that's saying, here, change this little word, versus something where you're going into it, and as you say, Manuel, you might go, great, a 5, there's very little to change, and there could be something really serious in there, a negation or an antonym that needs your focus. So all the while it's useful, and it would give you an indication. If it's 1, okay, you're going to have to do quite a bit of work, versus 5, it still doesn't answer every question. So it's so dependent on and on the quality output that you want to achieve at the end as well.
Mm-hmm. Good. That's great. I've got. I just want to answer 1 or 2 little short questions that come up on the panel or on the list because I'm watching through. One person asked if we're representing different types of MT systems here, and we are. We're representing different types of MT systems here. So we've got some statistical types, we've got some rule-based types, and we got some hybrid types. And so this panel does represent a variety of that at different stages in life. And we do have some hybrid here. So we're not going to go through and explain every one, but that is there. And for the question about speech recognition, we'll do that offline in the chat afterwards. So we'll deal with that. One of the other questions here that I was thinking about, and I know that Melissa was interested in it, is what are the risks for a translation company or a language service provider of not investing in MT at this point in time?
Yeah.
Who wants to take that question? So, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, we began a long time ago when investing in MT was. People thought you were mad, or they laughed at you if you were doing MT. You needed a background. You never told anyone you were doing it. You did it anyway, but they said, of course I can do it. No, I wasn't there doing it. No, never in my mind. And of course, we were developing these little engines to CAD manuals and different stuff. At a basic level, if you're an LSP, pure LSP, you run the risk of being out of price, 1. Number 2, you run the risk of being out of time, not providing, I'm not talking about money now, but we're providing translations on time. And number 3, you run the risk of not being in touch with technology, i.e. not providing services that other LSPs can do. Then it really depends on the kind of MT company you link it with. You can provide one service or another, or several. Some companies provide MT services that are engine only, so you're a passive consumer. Others provide other type of services with APIs, and you can re-provide your own MT or sell your own MT. I think not being a user, at least, you're in danger of not being in touch with technology, and how would you call the risk of not using any CAT tool nowadays? Like no reputable language service provider, unless you're very boutique, really extremely boutique language service providing a type of language service to a bank or an advertising agency. Not reputable language service provider would be out in the market without any type of CAT Same goes for MT.
Good.
I think that's it. I don't think we've seen an RFP or an RFI in the last 2 years at least that hasn't asked SDL, what's your MT capability, what's your strategy, what's your approach. Clients are asking for it, and I think this is a thing that if LSPs aren't proactive and educating themselves and investing, there's going to be clients coming to them who are, to be honest, quite shocked and horrified if they haven't got an MT solution. I know for me, I'm a super inquisitive person, so I like to kind of know the nuts and bolts of things as well. And there's so much discussion and innovation at the moment. It's really moving at a very fast pace, and a lot of sharing and pooling of information. To be part of that, while it's really still becoming mainstream, moving rapidly towards mainstream, is very exciting. And I think to be a shaper in that process and to be involved in the discussions will be much more rewarding than to come to the party pretty late on and to just kind of accept MT as a done deal. So for folk who are interested in contributing, finding out more about why MT performs in a certain way and what other advances could happen, this is a really good time to sort of get involved and jump in with both feet and be sort of part of the process. And that's why I think discussions like this are getting the attendance they're getting, because it is such a sort of hot topic for folk nowadays.
Yeah. Sandra, what would you do if you didn't have this right now? How would it be working? Tell us.
I think first of all, I look at a lot of my competitive edge, and probably I'm sure there are a lot of LSPs who are high on their own. That maybe there is no time for them to implement a machine translation system. But the reason I'm saying that I would have lost my competitive edge is because there's a very steep learning curve, especially at the beginning. They're still learning with each vertical, each new product-specific engine. Also with the way of approaching our linguists, to equip them with this skill set to be successful and efficient post-editor. Post-editor should get the same amount of money as a linguist who is carrying out post-editing work should have the same level of compensation at least as doing translation. Otherwise, there is no motivation behind it. And otherwise, there's just the link and probably some of the negative features that the linguist would interpret. So all in all, I'm very happy that we have started more than 3 years ago, implementing and actually just getting to know machine translation. Because I think we know a lot more today than what we knew 2 years ago. And if someone didn't start last year and is planning to start 2 years later, yes, technology will evolve, of course, but experience will have to be gained. That's just not something you can ultimately buy off the shelf.
I had a comment also, while it's important to invest in machine translation, I think it's important to understand what you're doing. If machine translation is just one more place where you're spending money where you have no clue what you're doing, it's not going to add any leverage. You need to know, you have to have some expertise. It's complicated stuff. And if you understand what you're doing and you actually build real production leverage, and production leverage means when a customer comes to you and say, I have a 500,000 word project, you get it done faster and cheaper. If that doesn't happen, you have failed with machine translation. And, there are a lot of people where that doesn't happen. There are a lot fewer where it does actually happen. So it's kind of important to understand the difference. That you invest in machine translation, but you need to do it with knowledge. The investment is not on the tools. The investment is in the learning and the knowledge of what am I doing, why am I doing, and what is the benefit.
Yeah, I would say that happens in most fields. People in SEO, search engine optimization, you can throw thousands of dollars on it and do it bad. Then spend a couple of $100 on good search SEO and do it properly. I agree with you, Cozy. You can spend all the money in the world, but if you don't know what you're doing, it will be pointless. However, I do see now that MT has gone from the occult that I was mentioned before, to the flavor of the year, kind of thing. So now if you're not doing MT, you are, well, you're out of the market, you're smell. And yeah, there are some there are a number of people that probably, and agencies and translation companies that are implementing MT the wrong way and getting the fingers trapped. In processes like you mentioned in Gertie, it happens, not only with MT, I think it happens with any area of business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. The word investment here has come up, and I think this is a thing that a lot of people ask me. And I've been doing this for 2 decades, and I've worked for all of your competitors and others, and have been approached with, can you do us Turkish? And you need to have $500,000 to do Turkish to English or something. Or I worked back in the when it was a $5 million project, back 20 years ago. But it's not always money, and I think, Sandor, what you stated a little bit earlier about the people investment, training the people of how to adjust the way they're working of a new role or how they're being involved. And so what kind of, is it always going to be a 4x4, you have to have a huge lorry truck and that's what you have to do? Or are there smaller types of approaches? What kind of investment of a finances or training or upfront work, or even an infrastructure? What kind of investments do you have to think about when you want to do this? Or are there really light investments too, like everything? Sandor, what?
Well, obviously, first of all, you have the upfront cost when you purchase your FD engine. That's the easier part. I'm talking based on my experience. After that, because that's empty, that's not going to do anything to you at that third stage. What you're faced immediately is you will have to have some content. You will have to have corpora to train that engine. Now, that requires, and that's based on our experience, it requires a lot of effort. And once you have your bilingual corpora, your monolingual corpora, your terminology list, anything that you need. Again, I'm talking about statistical machine translation training. Once you have that, you can probably think that, all right, I can just sit back and relax because the job is done. But it's not, because you will need, first of all, someone who will have at least some language technology knowledge to be able to prepare various source content formats so that you can feed it to the engine. So that's training again. And then I haven't even mentioned training the post editors. In my case, it's about 50% of your money that goes to technology and 50% of that budget and then MT implementation goes on the human, the intelligence and the human resource factor. Training your in-house resources and moreover, training your post editors.
Someone else?
Yeah, I would completely concur with the training of the post editors. And I was at a roadshow a couple of years ago with some clients who'd bought SDLB Global. And I said, well, how did you get your folks started on actually post editing? And the guy said, well, I just kind of gave them the raw output and said, good luck, folks, and see you at the other side. And we were kind of talking about statistical machine translation behaviors and how you can look at an output segment and be a bit daunted by it. But if you actually understand that that's the expected behavior, your mindset changes as a post editor. You're like, oh, okay, right, this isn't something that's gone disastrously wrong. This is exactly it's behaving as it should do. And then you know where to kind of focus your energies and where to concentrate. So I think this guy, was frantically scribbling notes, and part of the reason that we sort of started putting our experience together in the post edit training. But I agree. I think you mentioned earlier as well. It is a steep learning curve at the beginning. It's a skill that you need to learn. You're not going to pick it up on day one. You need to make an investment. So if you're a translator, perhaps you want to say, I'll take a little bit of post-editing, combine it with translation at the beginning, then you've also got that variety. Perhaps you're someone who's just happy to jump straight in and commit fully to doing nothing but post-edit, and everybody's different. But there are now training materials out there, not just from SDL, but from other vendors as well, that will help people on the way. And I think that's it. Don't think you can do it on your own. But it is a big investment of time, and you will see that you've almost got to take that risk of slowing productivity for a period until people get the hang. You're almost going to have a little bit of time where they're not even reaching their human translation metric. But it's most definitely worthwhile as those folks sort of find their feet. But understanding the behaviour of MT, I think, is absolutely critical, so that you, for mindset, and also so you know where to start and where to focus your time.
Mm-hmm. Curdy, I know that Asia Online, you've been adjusting and dealing with this within the last few years here of how much investment or infrastructure or people, and you're a lot in the forums. How is this? How do you see that today?
Yeah, I think 2 years ago, people were much more naive about what machine translation involved. They thought, okay, we buy the machine translation engine, and that's really all we need to do. And I think people like Sandor have educated the market that, that is just a small piece of the puzzle. There are human beings involved here, so you need to understand, how do we train the human beings? How do we train the right human beings? There's some translators who want nothing to do with post-editing machine translation. Mm-hmm. And you should understand that and find those that do. And then for those that do, what are the best ways to get them to a point where they understand what they're doing and they learn to interact with the tool in a productive way, in a pragmatic way, instead of this is going to screw me, this is going to take my job away. There's a lot of these sort of emotional reactions to machine translation sometimes that can be addressed by proper training and proper education. And, I think Sandor has, for a small LSP, I think he's done better than most in the industry, better than many of the larger companies. And so it's about education, it's about adjusting processes to a new way of getting work done. Again, the final goal is, did we get it done faster? Did we get it done cheaper? And did we get it done at the same quality levels? If you can say check on all three, then you've used the technology properly. And if you can't say check on all three, then you need to learn how to do whatever it is that's not working. And I think people misunderstand that. They think, I just buy the machine translation engine and that's all there is. There's this upload and pray mentality. Like, I just throw some data up on the web and I press a button and I got an engine instantly and that's going to solve my problems, and it doesn't. You need to educate the people involved. You need to educate project managers. A lot of project managers find, MT very scary. So there's a lot of education involved in, the efficient implementation of the technologies. And we're still really learning to do that. I mean, I think a guy to watch is Sandor. He's got online training. He's got very careful selection of post editors. He has Hungarian's a really tough language to do MT with, and he's been successful with it. And he's gotten very high productivity. So that shows that it doesn't matter how tough the language is. It's if the process is right, then things can work.
Yeah.
And the process needs more attention than we're giving it so far.
Exactly.
Who cares? Whether it's rule-based, all this hybrid, all that that is kind of garbage talk, really. Is it giving you productivity advantage, and is it giving you production advantage? Because then it becomes business leverage.
Totally. It makes me think of a project I worked back in the 1990s called the Star Trek Universal Translator. You push a button and it works. And we're still, people still expect that to happen. So it's really great, Curdy. Manuel, you were the new player on the block. I mean, a few years ago, came out of nowhere, and you were an LSP and they decided to use MT. But you're doing it not at this huge lorry truck level. What kind of investment are you talking about of infrastructure or people or whatever when you're doing things?
You want it in dollar?
No, just in general,
It was obviously running into the large tens of thousands initially, but we were doing it. There was nothing else. We came along, and the National Line came along a couple of months later.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly was in the high tens. If we cost the whole project altogether, there was probably close to 250,000 to develop the full system, interface included. But that was only for our own purposes, and there was the initial cost. That is nowhere near what an LSP or a user expects today nowadays, and it's nice development cost. And I wouldn't recommend, unless you're very interested, I wouldn't recommend to walk the walk to anybody, because it's what we went through was a developer's path, not an empty implementation path, which is most people want to do nowadays. They want to buy empty and apply it and spend time in empty post editing and training post editors. So if I was an LSP that was acquiring, purchasing the technology, I would set aside a couple of thousands per language, obviously, between the training customization, and time for post editing time. What translators need to understand, is that MT really is a recollection and a shifting of engrams, of words that already exist. It's another way of leveraging FEM. You can bring it down to, in the training, to say, look, what are you doing is a highly specialized TM leveraging in another way. Okay? And sometimes things are going to go wrong. And your verb is going to go wrong. And your case is going to go wrong. And your masculine and your feminine are going to go wrong. But that doesn't matter. Okay? It doesn't matter any worse, better than leveraging a TM that is 60% match or 75% match. You know, the rest of the sentence is wrong. Completely wrong. Just for you as a human, it reads okay. It has been translated before, but for the purpose of producing a translation, it's completely wrong. You're saying the yes when there is a no, and you're saying the cart when it's a boat. So once you get people on board, thinking, well, okay, yes, this doesn't make any sense, but Kelsey was mentioning the number of changes are more, but actually the production is faster. Well, that's exactly it. Okay, you are changing other things. But this training takes time. Okay, paying money is easy. Paying your $3,000, $5,000, $6,000, $10,000 or euros for your engine, that is the easy part. Where money goes is on training and convincing people this is the way to go, or is it the way to go.
Yeah. Great. Well, our time is up now. We've done our whole 45 minutes, and we've got a lot of questions that are on the chat line. So what I would suggest is I'll go ahead and right after the session here is unlock those so that we can answer them on the have ongoing chats, discussions. If any of us can participate. Melissa, you've got one question there specific for you, so I'll make sure I unlock that. But I would really like to really thank Sandor and Manuel and Curdy and Melissa coming and spending time with us to answer a lot of these burning questions that come up in all the discussion forums all the time. And really hope that this will generate a lot of additional questions that we can answer, and go ahead and contact us as needed. And we'll be certainly willing to answer. I guess I'll write another 1,000 posts in ProZ for the next 10 years to do this. So great. Well, thank you everyone for your time. And thank you for the audience for, sorry for the little glitch. We had a little bit earlier when we froze up, but we've been back. So thanks so much. Okay. Have a good day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.